Benjamin James Anderson was born in Bismarck, North Dakota on the 17th of September 1980. He grew up in Glendale, Arizona and graduated from the Centennial High School in 1999. He then went on to earn a Bachelor of Arts from Northern Arizona University. After finishing university, Ben got a job as a concierge manager at the Ritz-Carlton in Paradise Valley before serving as a personal assistant to a couple in Las Vegas for many years. Ben also spent time traveling the world, making many new friends along the way. By 2021, now aged 41, he was an executive concierge manager at PwC. According to his co-workers, Ben thoroughly enjoyed being part of the team and cherished his relationships with his colleagues. Outside of work, he had an active social life, but he was quite reserved. He wasn't one for big crowds and wasn't a heavy drinker. Those who knew him described him as a loving and giving person with a big heart. Ben always saw the good in people. He took care of his parents, he took care of his aunt, and he did everything to make their lives comfortable. This generosity occasionally led him to associate with people who weren't really in his peer group. One of his friends recalled one occasion when Ben and his friends were driving around and Ben noticed a homeless woman sitting alone on the curb in a parking lot. An adamant Ben forced his friends to drive over to the lady, bought her food and ensured she was safe before wishing her a good night. That was just the type of guy that Ben was. On December 31st, 2021, 41-year-old Benjamin Anderson had plans to meet his friend of 25 years, Daniel Stachowiak, for breakfast at 8 a.m. Roughly an hour and a half before they were due to meet, Ben called Daniel to cancel, telling him he was too tired. This wasn't entirely surprising, as Ben had been up in northern Arizona visiting friends and had driven a lot. Approximately 2 minutes later, Daniel texted Ben about an issue related to his work, with him replying that it had been resolved. This is the last time anyone spoke to Ben. Later that day, Ben had made plans to visit his aunt Suzanne, but he didn't show. Concerned that she hadn't heard from him at 6 p.m, she phoned his friend Daniel. A concerned Daniel tried texting him, but found his phone was switched off. At this point, he decided he was going to head over to his apartment. As he was leaving, Ben's other friend, Suzanne, also called Daniel, stating that he was not responding to her calls and that they were going straight to voicemail. When Daniel arrived at Ben's apartment, there were worrying signs. The lights were left on and the rooms were untidy, with clothes lying on the kitchen floor and a wet towel lying on an unmade bed, highly uncharacteristic of Ben. Money was left scattered all over the counter, and his credit cards were still in a small bowl by the door. Anderson's 2020 white Lexus was also gone. Just a short time later, around 7:30 p.m, Daniel reported his friend missing to the Phoenix Police Department. What Daniel didn't know was by this point, Benjamin Anderson, his best friend of almost 25 years, was already dead. Earlier in the day, around 1:30 in the afternoon, just over 5 hours after Ben and Daniel had their last call, a call was made to 911. The caller was reporting a body or mannequin on fire in the desert on West Table Mesa Road, west of I-17. The caller said, "I'm not sure if it's a body, but it looks like a body to me. It's on fire right now," the dispatcher asked. "Yes, it's on fire, and it's getting wider," the caller said. "Did you see any vehicles or anything around it?" the dispatcher asked. "No, I looked around, there was nothing," the caller said. It was not a mannequin. The body on fire was that of Benjamin Anderson. In a matter of hours, he had gone from planning breakfast to being ablaze in the desert. Unaware of the development in the desert, some of Ben's friends contacted Lexus to trigger its active tracking measure. The car was fitted with GPS. Lexus refused to disclose the car's location initially. The company eventually relented and stated it was off Interstate 17. An officer went to the Super 8, the last recorded location, but found nothing. Ben's friends weren't going to give up, however, and decided to keep looking at hotels in the area, and eventually at 12:30 a.m. ended up at the Sheraton on the other side of I-17. It was here they found 3 individuals sitting in Ben's car on the 4th level of the parking garage. The friends left to call 911 and alert the Sheraton security guard, but were spotted by the people with Anderson's car. The 3 individuals then took off with the vehicle, and the friends gave chase until it appeared that the people might use the car to run them down. The police showed up 20 minutes later. One of the 3 people seen with his car was a slim woman, standing 5'11" with blonde hair and a pink beanie. A second individual is described as a man of average height. He is supposed to have dark curly hair and is either light-skinned, Latino or white. There is no description for the third individual. Unable to rest, the trio decided to drive around some more. At around 4 a.m. they found the Lexus in the parking lot of UEI College, burned and destroyed. Anderson's duffel bag and some lights he purchased were still in the vehicle. At this point, the friends didn't know of the call made to the police department earlier in that day. On January the 3rd, the body in the desert was identified as Benjamin Anderson's through DNA and dental records. The body itself was unrecognisable. In the time since his death, not much information has been released about the case. According to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, Anderson's death is an open and active homicide investigation. The medical examiner's report cannot be released because of what MCSO says is sensitive case information that could jeopardize the investigation. While there seems to be no doubt Anderson was killed by someone else, the way in which he was killed and by whom seems almost as mysterious today as the day it happened. He had no known enemies and by all accounts was loved by everyone around him. Ben was an extremely kind and giving person who would go out of his way to help any man or woman, whoever there was. Whether these traits led Ben to the perpetrator and this person or persons murdering him is not known. As of 2023, his case remains unsolved.